Oh, well, yeah. How long have you got? Because you can appreciate that I'm not the youngest person in the world. Um, at Christmas, I say I'm 193, but that's only because I'm Santa at Christmas, as you could possibly gather. Um, Born in Southeast London, very working family. Was fortunate enough to be scholarshiped to a school where I really didn't enjoy it at all, but it gave me lots of opportunities. And probably the biggest one it gave me is the opportunity to spend time with my grandmother, who ran a street market at the stall, and it also gave me the opportunity of rather than doing nothing, doing something that wasn't involving the Army, the Air Force, or the Navy. And then I got into working with children, and I've been doing that for the last 52, coming up to 53 years. Here, there, and possibly everywhere. So starting in Southeast London, ending up in the Midlands, in Northamptonshire, and along the way, all parts of England and most of Italy. I suppose if you want the essence of me, I'm passionate about childcare and child development. I'm also in my older years, and I'm not old, I'm just older. I've been heavily interested in the whole concept of enoughness, which is making sure that myself and my family were well looked after. And I have this penchant for shirts, which you can't see because of my beard, it's growing too much. But apart from that, I don't have a great deal of need for wealth. So enoughness is about making sure that you've got enough, but then everything else that you make or develop or encourage is then shared with others. Sometimes very wisely, sometimes not so wisely. I have a passionate dislike of large charities, given that I grew up in an era where if you ran a charity, you were probably retired and did it for love, not money. And now it seems to be the other way around. You're not retired and you have to do it for large amounts of money. So if I'm being charitable, which I hope I am from time to time, it tends to be more directly with people rather than giving it to organisations as such. What else is there to say? I segue a huge amount, which you've already found out, from activity to activity. And in this latest melee called COVID-19, I'm told, I found myself in a rather strange position of being in the only two places that you had to stay open. I mean, the factory has remained open with a very great bunch of people. And the childcare, my day nursery has stayed open right the way through with some events, but not too many, thankfully. People ask me silly questions like, when are you going to retire? And the answer to that is I have no intentions of retiring. Certainly not for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And my next job description will be pushing up daisies. And if you don't know what that means, then you haven't lived long enough. What else is there to say? I'm qualified as a nursery nurse. I suppose that's an unusual thing. I've already mentioned Santa, so I can't go on too much about him. Yeah, that's about it. Passionate, keen, and basically happy. People do actually say, when are you going to stop working? The answer to that is I've never actually started working. I've always enjoyed what I do. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, 30 years ago, it would have been sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Only joking, maybe. What I think about most, I think about what I'm trying to achieve with the various things I'm involved in. I think about my family, a reasonable amount, including my son, who's just walking past me now. I have to say that because he's here. I think about the environment quite a lot. I'm quite keen on making sure that not too many aeroplanes go back in the sky. It's been absolutely brilliant listening to birds for the last 18 months rather than listening to aeroplanes. I think about poverty quite a lot, not in the sense of I am poor, but I'm absolutely committed to trying to at least inform, if not educate, if not change. I'm probably getting too old to be part change now. I don't mean that in terms of age, but just I've lived through the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and now the 20s and the 2010s and the 2020s. I must admit, I did think some years ago when I was about 25, 2000 seemed a long way off. I didn't think I'd possibly make it to the year 2000, and here we are in 2021. It is. I try to make a difference. Some of that is in very small ways. There are a group of homeless people in Milton Keynes who know me quite well. I've helped from time to time. I try to make a bigger difference with trying to create homes for them, for the local council and local areas. Who politicians. I absolutely hate and detest. So I think about them quite a lot, but not good things. Excuse me. Think about you from time to time. It's always a good thing to think about. I have friends across the world now who I think about quite a lot. And having said that about aeroplanes, I'm absolutely desperate to go back to Iceland and spend some time there, and for you to come with me. Yeah, I think that's all I think about. Mindset. Oh, what does it mean to me? I suppose in positive terms, I think it means to me, it means helping people understand what their mindset should be, the positive things that should be going on in this world, that there ought to be ways of achieving that. And that some of the work that we're doing with children, and some of the work that we're doing with adults, and some of the things I talk about with people that I meet, the good, the bad, and the ugly, about the positive things that we could be achieving as a race. And people often ask me what race I am, and I tend to go into the human side of things. On the negative side, I think that there's been since the 70s a change in how we're influenced, and that's created a very negative mindset, both for adults and for children, and that's been predicated by two things really. One is this machine starting to make us believe that you can socialize on a machine rather than socialize in person is something I still find very strange. Maybe it's because of my age, maybe it's because of my personality. And that was cardboard being torn, in case you recognize the sound. And the other is the politicians. I'm more than aware. I don't just mean elected politicians. I mean the people who control and own most of the world, who then control and own most of the politicians, who then control and own most of the wealth. I was reading the other day. I urge lots of people, so I'm going to urge you and whoever you show this to read Private Eye. People see it as a paper or a magazine that takes the mickey out of people. In fact, it's not. It's probably the most well-informed and open and non-political sharing organisation that I know, and it's a good bedtime read. It has little vignettes of information, which if you dig and dig, which I do from time to time, turn out to be absolutely accurate, and they give you opportunities to begin to influence people's mindset. A recent one was there was an analysis done by a right-wing think tank, not a left-wing one, that saw that over the last 18 months, the loss in wages across the world, not across the UK, but across the whole of the world, was around $136 trillion. That's $136 million. The increase in wealth for the billionaires across the world has been about $132 trillion. That's $132 million. So the scales have gone like that yet again. Seeing things like food banks in India or Africa is bad enough. To see them in the UK as well, America as well. It just horrifies me that the attitude, the mindset of people will accept and tolerate that at every level. So that's what mindset means to me. I'd love to make that difference myself. My mindset is on, probably now is on the next generation, and I'm talking about my grandchildren rather than my children, and what they can achieve, and hopefully what will be left for them. My mindset's, alongside frustrated and angry, is hopeful. I'm always hopeful. I'm a born optimist. I always look at the half full cup and think that if we can fill it up even further. I'd love there to be radical change. My mindset would be, I'd happily go on the streets again. I've been there many, many times. I don't mean homeless, although I've done that one too, a long, long time ago. But in terms of protesting, but when you can do it online, you can press the button and say you signed the petition. You feel a whole lot better. And if several million people do that, then several million people just feel happier that they've been involved. My mindset is that they've achieved absolutely nothing. And the politicians have proven that time and time again, starting by Blair and his total disregard of people and the Iraq, and now right the way through. I don't think we have any influence left on politics. I think in due course, fairly radical things will happen and have to happen, and maybe COVID's been one of them. Oh, how have they changed over my life? I don't think they've changed significantly at all. My father was a staunch member of the Labour Party and a trade unionist. I suppose I've come to terms a little bit more with the potential of capitalism and what it can do. I've seen fascism, I've seen communism, I've seen campaigning, I've seen all those things. And I've played a part in some of those things in a hopefully fairly major way. I think seeing real poverty has influenced me greatly. But I grew up with, my nan lived in the Elephant and Castle, and to get to the Elephant and Castle and her store, we had to go through the slums, which were real slums. 6 stories and 1 bathroom, 1 toilet, right at the ground floor. If you had shoes, then you shared them with several other people. So I've seen that kind of poverty as well. But I've seen cultural poverty too. I've seen ignorance. I've seen frustration. I've seen a growing amount of wealth being disregarded as being something that you should aspire to rather than something you should share. So yeah, it's changed a bit, but I don't think my mindset has changed significantly in the years I've been alive. I'm not sure how we're going to get the wake-up call. I mean, I've acquired 2 websites for when I do less work, which means they probably will never get an airing. One was a reaction to all the research that's gone on in the world for so many years, and still the government just spends more and more on research and on working parties and on engaging more consultants. And as was stating the obvious.co.uk. I try to imagine why people can't realize or are surprised when you say poor people, people with less money, have less advantage than rich people. That's a new one on me. Okay. Men don't work in childcare predominantly because of the wages that are paid. That's a new one on me too. People with cars tend to go further than people without, that whole thing. So stating the obvious, and the other one, which I thought I wouldn't get, but I thought I'd see if it was available, was No Shit Sherlock. So I'm also the owner of No Shit Sherlock. And it would be nice, I talk to people like I'm talking to you now, and I think, are they listening? I know you do, but hopefully other people that are watching this will listen. But if we don't change things, then poverty will be here forever, and there's no need for it. There's absolutely no need for it. We through 2-3 years ago, we were told categorically there is no money to do anything. Money is not there. There's no money tree. Said, I think it was her. It was what's her name? May, first of all, but then Johnson was there, was singing the same tune. We then have a pandemic, and suddenly we've spent 50, 60, 70 billion pounds on this, that, or the other, and far too much on consultants who've screwed lots of things up, in my view, and lots on their friends. But how long would it take for us to realise that if everybody paid their taxes across the world, there'd be enough money for everybody? If you want to create the money side of things, if you want to talk about, do I eat well? Yes, I eat well, and everybody else should eat well. Why can't we all eat well? Because people are greedy. Again, you only have to look at the start of the pandemic when people were raiding and raping supermarkets because they thought that they would lose out somehow. But in reality, the people that are sitting at the top will never lose out. If you get COVID and you're the prime minister, you'll come round. And if you get COVID and you're the president of the United States, hopefully you'll take, if it's him again, you take some bleach and go. That's a political statement, a mindset. So people's mindsets are weird, to say the least. They're more than contented with, frustrated by the status quo, but accepting of it. Oh, value engineering. Obviously, dictionary-wise, it's the worth but the word value means doesn't mean a great deal in terms of. Well, no, it's the same answer, I suppose, right at the beginning, negative and positive. Do I value friendship? And the answer is yes. Do I value time with people that I love? And the answer is yes. Do I value the opportunity to pontificate like this? And I suppose the answer to that must be yes as well. Do I accept that people's values are misguided? Are mine misguided? I don't. I hope not, but they might be a little misguided sometimes. I sometimes do give away far too much money to people that don't really deserve it, but that's a different story for a different time. But value to me is about creating the right kinds of opportunities for people and giving them the strength of character to be able to say this is good and this is bad. And I suppose that answers a different question, which is which is good and which is bad. Is it good that children die all the time? And the answer is, of course, it's not. So that's, I can't think that value has no value to me in terms of finances, particularly. What are my values? Love, compassion, sometimes frustration. I value people's opinions. I don't always share them. I do value people who have principles. I don't value their principles necessarily, but I think people should be principled in what they do. I don't think I value my health enough, but that's again, there's big surprises there. Yeah, what else do I value? I value tweets because they last a lifetime. That's a poor attempt at bad humour. What do I value? I suppose yeah, I value waking up in the mornings. How do I spend my time? Early mornings, I come into the factory or elsewhere and drive off. I don't sleep hugely, so I'm awake, as is Linda, at 4, 5, 6 o'clock, normally 5-ish, sometimes 4, sometimes 6. I go and see people, talk to people, and spend quite a lot of time on trying to get the things I'm involved in working well and better. I cook. I'm the shopper and the cooker. Linda is the fastidious cleaner, which is sort of horrendous, but not really. I read a reasonable amount. I do listen to bits of news on the radio. I don't listen to it at home. And I read Private Eye. It takes me about a week to read Private Eye. If you've not read it, you'll see that they print. They actually did an exercise of printing it in 9-point, which is quite at least what you normally get in letters and things. And everybody complained, and so they went back to 6-point. So you need your glasses on to read Private Eye, but it's well worth the read. And I say again to people, just read it. I'm not sure, it's possibly online, but it's a good read. We holiday once a year for a week after Christmas. Other than that, we're around. Spend quite a lot of time with grandchildren. Got a 15, a 12, and a 20 month, and it's split in almost equal proportion these days, notwithstanding that you can't see them with COVID. I spent quite a lot of time with my son just because he works just over there, on the other side of the desk. Yeah, I enjoy rugby. I'm watching rugby. I don't enjoy football. I don't enjoy cricket. I do like the occasional drink of whiskey, a good whiskey. And occasionally, I don't mind a bad whiskey either. And then, yeah, read again and go to sleep. It's in different times. Do I enjoy going out for good food? And the answer is yes, as well as cooking. Do I enjoy going to see good films? And the answer is yes. Do I enjoy going to see good theatre and art? And the answer is yes. And all those things that I haven't done for the last 18 months to 2 years because we've been locked in. And I am pleased and excited that it looks like, if you can believe the politicians, I don't always believe them, that we are on the way out the other side of it and we can start doing those things again. Hopefully we'll do them in sensible moderation rather than throw buckets of money at it and pretend that doing those things badly is a good thing to do. Oh, whose society? Because it depends who you talk to. I think we have been brainwashed over the last 30, 40 years to think that money is the most important thing that you can have, and wealth is the most important thing, and love and compassion is less important. It's not so many years ago that the Chinese towns and villages had dead babies on the side of the street, dead female babies, because you were only allowed one baby. If you had a girl, then you just shoved it on the side of the street and left it to die. And that was part of their societal values at the time. And I'm not sure that we're that far away from it here. I don't mean that literally. Do we care about the fact that people are living in poverty? And the answer is yes, we think about it. And we may be put on our red noses in a couple of weeks' time and throw pounds at it. But do we do anything about it? And the answer is no. Are we happy to accept that the politicians and the wealthy continue to just take money and not give it back? And the answer is no, not really. I think change comes through actions, and actions always speak louder than words. And I love hearing people's rhetoric, but I much prefer doing things. So I'll continue to try and make a bit of difference myself. But society as a whole, is it changing? I think certainly it's becoming a little bit more aware. Whether it does anything as a consequence of that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But that's me being an older person. It's up to you people, youngsters, young people. They get on the streets like we did, make things happen. What's enough? Enough is knowing that you can get up in the morning and do what you need to do without having the fear and trepidation of hunger, of pain, of inability to sleep, of arrest, of all of those things that many people still have a great deal of experience of, all of which should be eliminated in my book, and could be eliminated in my book. Enoughness is about making sure that people around you are okay, but not taking excess. Do billionaires have enough? And the answer tends to come back from billionaires, no. Although I've spent quite a lot of time going back to one of your earlier questions about thinking. What do you do with a billion anythings? Whether it's £1 billion or a billion cars or a billion houses or a billion clouds or a billion trees or a billion, what do you do with a billion anythings? Why does anybody need a billion anythings? And I think it's just, there is a time when enough is enough, and if I have anything and it's available, I will share it. If I don't, then obviously I won't. Do I spend huge amounts on holidays and flash cars and exploiting people? And the answer is no. I think that's one of the things fundamentally that's changed in society. It goes back a little bit earlier, is that there certainly was a time, probably 50s, 60s, when what people were doing and the services they were offering, whether it was food or insurance or whatever, was there to make a living, to make enough, but then to use that enough to service that good. My daughter burnt her bedroom down when she was 4. She's now 40 odd, and the insurance company turned up the following day and saw it, and then the following day after that, I had a £200 check to go out and buy her toys because it was just after Christmas. If I had an insurance, or I had an insurance claim quite recently, it took 2.5 years to settle. The society has changed to being interested in money. Services has started being interested in money. If you're not, isn't it tragic that Marks and Spencer's only made £6 billion this year? I'd be much happier if they broke even. I think that change may come in time, but possibly, probably not in my lifetime. So enough to me is making sure I can eat, making sure I can drink, making sure my family are happy, making sure the people around me are happy, taking anything else that I make and earn from both work and from play, and sharing that with as many people as I can. Well-being and health. Well-being is much more about there and there, rather than whether I get the shakes or not, which I don't. Well-being to me is about the well-being of your mind, the well-being of what you think about, and the way that you act and react to people. I nearly said smiling a lot when I realised I probably haven't smiled at all during this. Yeah, and in terms of health, so waking up in the morning these days is quite a sign that I'm still healthy. Probably given that I make lots of excuses why I can't do things now. I must admit, I did believe that when you aged, nothing changed, but it does quite significantly. Do I worry about health? And the answer is no. I don't particularly worry about health. Do I try to be healthy? I try to be healthy about what I eat, slightly less healthy about what I drink. I don't do a huge amount of exercise because I don't spend enough time out. I'm not allowed to exercise at the moment in terms of going out and doing stuff. Do I worry about health? And the answer is no, not really. Not really at all. I've had the jab. Do I want to die? I think there is an inevitability. I don't think anybody's found a cure for that one yet, although Duke of Edinburgh is trying very, very hard to make it happen. No, yeah, health is much more about mindset than, going back to your mindset question, than it is about whether or not you can run a 4-minute mile, which I possibly could have done when I was about 10 or 20. There's no, I can do a 10-minute yard now. I think it's pretty hard. Again, strength is more than about body strength. It's about mind strength. It's about being strong enough to realize that things will inevitably happen, mostly for the good, thankfully, but sometimes for the bad. Physically, strength is important. And I must admit, I find it more important now that I'm not as strong as I was. Resilience, the ability to not suffer fools, the ability to look at the things that are going on around you and saying, okay, not only do I reject that, but I'm not going to accept it. Rejection is a good start. Makes you resilient to the various nonsense that goes on around you, whether that's people being stupid at work, or people being stupid in the street, or politicians, or governments, or wealthy idiots. So yeah, that's it, really. Oh, where do I draw my strengths from? Seeing people achieve, seeing what we can achieve, seeing results, seeing. I am an action rather than talk person. If you would believe that, then we're talking for nearly an hour now. Seeing things happen, seeing children doing things. So one of the things I keep talking about quite a lot these days, because it's just my 53rd anniversary comes in childcare fairly soon, is one of the things I've enjoyed most about the couple of dozen children I've worked with who've had cerebral palsy in particular, where people see, say, when they're newborn, relatively reasonably early discovered, they won't walk, they won't talk, they need to be in institutions, and each of them in turn, a lot of parents have accepted that that's true. It's a bit like parents accepting that learning to read and write at 3 is important. Seeing them suddenly slowly discover that they can walk, and they can talk, and they can share, and they can be part of society, and they can understand what you're saying, and you can understand what they're saying. I get my strength from things like that. Seeing Joe, who I've been working with for a few years, or around. I'm not claiming I've been working with him. I've been around him, and around his amazing parents, and even seeing him on horseback, seeing him standing up now, with help at the moment, but he's getting towards the point where he probably will walk himself. I get strength from that. I get strength from being Santa. I get strength from seeing people really expand their horizons. Yeah, that's where I get my strength from. Oh, difficult question. When I'm being exposed to fools and people who really don't have a great deal of respect for others, including themselves, sometimes, but more often not, including others, including me. I've needed to suffer those falls more than I perhaps should have done, could have done. I've needed it from people who at times, there have been times when, notwithstanding paying the wages, if it's the day before you're paying the wages and you haven't got the money, you need some strength and resilience then. On top of that, there have been times when people around me have been ill, and I've needed strength and resilience then. I've watched some of my friends, because I'm old enough now to watch friends die. I've needed strength and resilience then. In terms of my life, as opposed to what's going on around me, my strength and resilience requires help and support from time to time from people that I love and hold dear. I think the answer is inevitably, of course, they are. In as much as we've managed in the last 20 or 30 years to realize that we've probably discovered or recovered or rediscovered part of our brains and how they work. Sorry, somebody walked past me and distracted me for a second. We now know, or we believe we know, about 20% of what that does, the brain does, the soul, the senses do, which means there's 80% we don't know yet. And if we start to explore and expand those things, then I think there is a better chance that my grandchildren will have a better life than along with everybody else in the world. I'm not talking about just them, but the society will begin to recognise that what we use our brains for is far more important. That the sense of purpose, the sense of well-being that you need to survive and grow and develop is very important. And in that context, I think the thing that strings quite a lot of this together starts at 0 years old, not at 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years old. But if we can start to begin to get that sense of well-being, that sense of purpose, the sense of responsibility, that sense of care, the sense of passion, that sense of all those things into the very youngest children, then in a few generations' time, as has happened now, a few generations on, things will be different. But hopefully they'll be a lot more positive than they've been at the moment. Well, community is you've lived a life, Emma, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be talking to you or talking to the wall, but I'll talk to you. Relatively short life so far compared to older people. And community to me has changed significantly. I think it's beginning to re-emerge a little. That when I was young, let me tell you about the markets. I think it's a good illustration of how communities should be. The market community was there for everybody. In fact, in my street, everybody was there for everybody. And to a certain extent now, where I live now, it's worse in London, I believe. It's probably quite most cities it's worse. But the sense of belonging to a group and being prepared to share with that group and being prepared to both question and challenge, but support in that group is what communities are about. Sharing probably is the biggest one of those, and being responsible for yourself, but being responsible for everybody else as well. It's a difficult one, not an easy one, that one. If you've got 15 or 20 years, I can continue. No, I just hope that things like this, although I'll be interested to see the whole this rather than just me talking to you, like your picture. Nice jumping, by the way. Is that people will begin to listen and understand and care and be responsible, not only for themselves, but what's going on around them.